Okay, today's day 2 of Art Resin, and these are the things I did yesterday. And now I'm going to show you how I mix my resin. So here on my table I have my resin and I have the hardener, and I already measured it out just to make it easier, not to pour on while we're on screen here, just in case we don't want any mishaps. You never know. So here's my 4 ounces. It's 2 ounces of resin, and I'm putting that in another cup. Make sure get every last little drop in there, because if your resin and your hardener are not equal, that can cause big problems. And now I'm adding an equal amount of my hardener. And now we have to stir for 3 minutes. You have to scrape your cups, make sure you get the sides, the bottom, the corners. Wearing your gloves is very, very important. You don't want to get that resin on your hands. So I'm starting to stir, and I'm speeding this up because you don't want to watch me for 3 minutes stirring. Just as I'm doing this, I'm making sure I scrape the bottom, scrape the sides, scrape my my spoon there, and stir, stir, stir. Sometimes I tell Alexa, okay, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is up. And this is the piece that I did yesterday, and there was one little spot somehow or another that there was a little hole in it, and I think that's because maybe I should have put some cardboard in the back. So today I'm putting some cardboard to make it sturdy in the back, and this will hold my canvas straight, nice and straight. I already sanded it. When you redo a piece, you have to sand it with 8 grit sandpaper, and that's what I did. And you also want to make sure that you're working on a level table. And I have my little leveler there, and I'm putting it up, and that little bubble is right in the middle. Art resin is self-leveling, but if your table's not level, it's not going to be straight. So you do want to make sure that you're working on a level area. So I'm putting on my resin right now. Put a little more. And yesterday I used a piece to bring it straight to the edges, but being that I already did that yesterday and I still have my tape is on there, I'm going to use my gloves today because I'm just going to put a very thin coat on. I don't need to have a thick coat on. I did that yesterday. This is just barely to cover that little hole that I had. So I'm going to use my gloves, and I'm going to make sure I get every single area. The edges, go right to the edge. All the spots. Art resin is one of the more expensive resins out there. I do like it. the only one I've used so far. It hasn't given me any problems at all. I do watch them on Wednesday. If you go to their YouTube channel on a Wednesday, and I think it's 10 o'clock Canadian time, you will find 1 o'clock, I think it's 1 o'clock their time. There's a live session, and they do all different experiments. But go to their website, Art Resin, on YouTube, and you'll be able to see they do some really great things. I learned a lot just watching them. There's always something fun going on there. So I'm finishing this up here. I think I got all my little spots. I'm wiping my fingers. Looking for my torch. And here we go, getting all those bubbles out. You could use a heat gun if you have a heat gun, or a torch. Get the bubbles out. Now we'll move on to the jewelry that I did. I cut out some of my paint skins, and I put it into a few pieces of jewelry that I had. Two of the pieces of jewelry already had it had glass to put on one side, and I decided that I would make it a double-sided piece of jewelry. So I put the paint skins also on the back, and that's why I'm going to pour some resin on the back. But that little piece that I'm doing there now, the one I did the first time, that was that made a little dome. And this piece, these two pieces, I'm just putting a little resin over the skin. I don't think it's going to dome up, but I speeded this up because I did get a little lost, and it was taking quite a while. This was the coaster from the day before, and there wasn't enough resin. There was a little resin I had left over, so I tried to make a coaster, but it wasn't quite enough. So I decided I would finish it up today. I had some extra resin here. So I did sand the coaster. In other words, you need to sand it before you can put new resin on top. So I did sand it. What I also did was, and you should never do this, I torched it in the rubber mold. Don't do that. I'll show you a picture at the end of this video of what happens when you torch a rubber mold. You won't be able to get your coaster out, although I did get my coaster out, but I had to rip the mold up to get it out because it adhered to the resin. So do not do not torch your coasters if they're in a rubber mold. Use a heat gun. I should have used my heat gun. So now I'm moving on, and I have one coaster also that somehow or another I missed the ends. Right at the ends of the coaster there was no resin, so I'm going to go over that now. And it's my coaster that I made that came out looking just like an angel. I still get amazed when I look at it. So I decided I would resin it and keep it for myself. I can't give an angel away. Unless someday I decide somebody needs it. Then I would give it away. But right now I'll keep the angel for our household. She is quite lovely. I'm getting all the corners and the sides there. Once upon a time I had a website called Angels on My Side. She would have been a good angel for my website. And this is where at some point I put the camera, I put my phone, I stopped it for a minute. I think my phone rang or something happened, and then I thought I put it back on, and I didn't put it back on, and that was the end of the tape. So that'll be coming up pretty soon. Yes, this is where I start torching. That's when I torch the angel, which is fine. And this is when I lost the video. So this is the ends of the tape, the ends of my video. This is how pretty the jewelry looks at the ends. This is do not torch, but the coaster did come out. Please subscribe and stay safe.